Welcome back. We've now entered Unit 2, and today is going to be video number 1. Our goal for today, given a formula, you will be able to manipulate the equation by solving for a new variable by following a list of steps. So today we are going to manipulate it. So that means we're going to change it around and we're going to follow a list of steps. So let's go ahead and start by looking at what those steps actually are. Okay, so an equation, the exact title for today is called literal equations, which is an equation with several variables or letters is called a literal equation. Okay, sometimes we like to think of it as a formula. We see a lot of formulas. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. For solving literal equations, we're going to follow the steps. Number 1, if needed, again, not always, only if needed, we're going to cross multiply. If needed, so not always, we're going to distribute to get rid of the parentheses. Then we're going to transpose with addition and subtraction, transpose with multiplication and division, and the last step, if needed, take the root to rid any powers that remain. So taking care of the powers is actually the very last step, okay, for solving literal equations. Okay, so let's go ahead and give it a try. So number 1, solve for x. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my equation. Right now it's equal to 3. I want to make it equal to x. So I want to keep my x right where it is, and I want to move everything else to the other side. So let's go through our steps. Number 1, do we need to cross multiply? Nope. Do we need to distribute? Nope. Are we going to have to transpose with addition and subtraction? Yep. So the first thing I want to do, keep the x where it is. I'm going to bring this 5c to the other side. So I'm going to add 5c to both sides. That's going to cancel. Dx is equal to 3 plus 5c. Okay, now once again, I'm keeping my x right where it is. Step 4, transpose with multiplication and division. So let's take a look. Right now the d is being multiplied to the x, so that means I have to divide by d. Divide by d. The d's cancel, and I have x is equal to 3 plus 5c, and the whole thing is over d. And at this point, we have finished. We've gotten the x all by itself. All right, let's take a look now at number 2. So this time it says solve for t. So I'm going to look at my formula, my literal equation, and I see that the t is right here. It's inside of the parentheses. Okay, so let's go up to our steps. Number 1, if needed, cross multiply. Nope, don't have to do that. Number 2, if needed, distribute to rid the parentheses. So do we have to get rid of these parentheses? Well, since the t is on the inside, yes, we have to get rid of those. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to multiply the p to the inside. So I have a is equal to p times 1 is just p, plus p times rt is just p rt. Now once again, I'm going to remind myself that I'm solving for t. So I'm going to put a box around my t. I'm going to keep it right where it is. So now step 3, transpose with addition and subtraction. So the first thing I need to do is move this p to the other side. So I'm going to subtract p. The p's are going to cancel. Now I have a minus p is equal to prt. Again, I'm going to put a box around my t. That's what I want to stay the same. Now I want to, step 4, transpose with multiplication and division. So right now the p and the r and the t are all touching. So if they're touching, that means they're being multiplied. So it means we need to divide by pr. Divide by pr. So the prs are going to cancel. And we get t is equal to a minus p, which is a binomial, all over pr. And we can leave our answer just like that. Okay, let's take a look then at number 3. So number 3, we want to solve for p. So let's take a look over here. So p, I'm going to use my highlighter this time, is right here. So I want to keep the p right where it is. Now step number 1, if needed, cross multiply. Nope, we don't have a fraction equal to a fraction, so we don't do that. Number 2, if needed, distribute to rid the parentheses. Well, if I distribute, instead of 1 p, how many p's are we going to have? That's right, we're going to have 2 p's. We don't want to have 2, we only want 1 because we're trying to solve for it. So I'm not going to distribute here. So that's why if it's not needed, don't distribute. Transpose with addition and subtraction. Well, right now p is touching the parentheses, so that's not adding or subtracting. That is actually multiplication. So step 4, transpose with multiplication or division. So I'm going to divide by parentheses 1 plus RT. Divide by the parentheses 1 plus RT. So now the parentheses cancel with the parentheses, and I get P is equal to A all over 1 plus RT. And we're done. We've gotten the P by itself. Okay, let's go ahead then now and let's try number 4. Solve for V. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take a look at my V. So there's my V. I want to keep that where it is, bring everything else to the other side. So step 1, if needed, cross multiply. Nope, don't have to do that. If needed, distribute. There's no parentheses. Number 3, transpose with addition and subtraction. There's no addition or subtraction. So number 4, transpose with multiplication and division, and that we do have. So the first thing I notice is I have a 1/2 here, so I'm going to bring that to the other side. So that means I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal, 2 over 1. So the 1/2 and the 2 over 1 are going to cancel. 2 times k is just 2k is equal to mv squared. Again, here's my v. I'm going to keep it where it is, but now the m is still touching the v, which means it's being multiplied. Opposite of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide by m. The m's will cancel. So now we have 2k all over m is equal to v squared. Okay, so now we're going to go up to step 5. If needed, take the root to rid any powers that remain. So right now the v is being squared, so opposite of squaring is taking the square root. So we're going to take the square root. So now the square root and the squared are going to cancel. So our final answer here is v is equal to the square root, and everything is underneath that square root symbol. And we have our final answer. Okay, let's continue down now to number 5. Solve for C. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is look for C. Here it is. I'm going to highlight it. So I want to keep the C right where it is, bring everything else to the other side. So number 1, if needed, cross multiply. I don't have to cross multiply here. If needed, distribute to rid the parentheses. There's no parenthesis. Transpose with addition and subtraction. Okay, so I'm adding 32 to the C, so I'm going to bring that to the other side. So we're going to subtract 32. So now I have F minus 32 equals 9 over 5C. Again, I want to keep my C right where it is. So now let's take a look. Transpose with multiplication and division. So right now 9/5 is being multiplied to the C. So I need to bring that fraction to the other side. So we're going to multiply by the reciprocal, which is 5 over 9. Okay, and I'm going to come over here and multiply by 5 over 9. Okay, now I'm multiplying everything here by 5 over 9, so I have to be very careful because this is a binomial. A binomial is a quantity, and quantities go into parentheses, so we have to be very careful here. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute that. 5 over 9 has to go to everything. So this is going to become 5 over 9f minus, now if you're not handy-dandy with fractions, that's okay, you could use the calculator. So we're going to go 32 parentheses 5 divided by 9. Okay, and we're going to get this decimal, so math fraction, turn it back into a fraction, we get 160 over 9. Equals, and if those cancel, we get just C. And now we have our final answer. We've solved for C. Okay, up next, let's take a look now at 6. Solve for M. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to highlight M. I want to keep M exactly where it is, and I want to bring everything else to the other side. So let's take a look. If needed, cross multiply. Don't have to do that. If needed, distribute. Don't have to do that. Transpose with addition and subtraction. There's no addition or subtraction. Number 4, transpose with multiplication and division. So if I look at the M, the 1/2 is touching it and the V squared is touching it, which means both of these are being multiplied. So I need to bring them both over. So the first thing I'm going to do is bring over the fraction. So I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal on both sides. So the 1/2 cancels with the 2/1. So over here now we have 2k equals mv squared. Now again, we're solving for m, so I'm going to highlight my m. I want to keep the m right where it is, and I want to bring the v squared to the other side. Now they're touching, so that's multiplication, so I'm going to divide by v squared. So the v squareds cancel, and now I have my final answer. I've gotten the m all by itself. And we're good. Oops, sorry, couldn't see that. So we just transpose that over. Okay, let's take a look then at number 7. So for number 7 here, it says solve for f. So I'm going to look here. So f is, it's right here, it's in the top of the fraction. Now, in this one, I have a whole number equal to a fraction, and the f is part of the fraction. So this is one of those cases where I'm going to put the h over 1. So now I have a fraction equal to a fraction. So now, if needed, cross multiply. We have a fraction equal to a fraction, we can cross multiply. But careful, the denominator here is a binomial. A binomial is a quantity, and quantities go into parentheses. So now we can cross multiply. So h, parentheses, m plus 1, equals 1 times 2f, which is just 2f. Okay, now I still want to get this f all by itself. Okay, and if I take a look here, the 2 is touching the f. So that means it's being multiplied. So opposite of multiplication is division. So we're going to go ahead and divide there. So the 2's are going to cancel, and we're going to get f is equal to h m plus 1 all over 2. Now, if you wanted to distribute the h into the parentheses, you could do that, but it would be just an extra step involved. So you could say, or you could have hm plus h all over 2. Okay, final question for today. Let's see if we can get it. 8. Solve for r. So I'm going to go ahead. Here's my r. I'm going to keep the r right where it is. So step 1, do we need to cross multiply? Nope. Step 2, do we need to distribute? Nope. Step 3, is there any addition or subtraction? Nope. Step 4, use multiplication and division, and there's a lot of that going on here. So if I take a look, the pi and the h are both touching the r, which means they're being multiplied. Opposite of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide both sides by pi over h. So now the pi's cancel, the h's cancel. We have v over pi h is equal to r squared. All right, so here's my r. We're almost there, except now, take a look. It is r squared. So now we have to get rid of that squared. So how do we get rid of a squared? You take the square root. So now our final answer. R is equal to the square root, and everything is underneath it. Pi times v. And our final answer. All right, ladies and gentlemen, great job today working with your literal equations and your manipulation of the variables. Have a great night, everyone.